So for the single type cup, I used Hypno with Fire Punch and Shadow Ball, Umbreon with Foul Play and Last Resort, and Machamp with Cross Chop and Rock Slide. And the reason I picked this team is because they were already made and didn't have to spend any Stardust. So getting straight into it, my Hypno is up against a Politoed lead. This has been a really common lead I've found in the single type cup. And what you want to do for this is take 2 Weather Balls off the Politoed, throw a Shadow Ball, which will get you the shield or will result in a lot of damage. And then you want to count attacks to the next Weather Ball and switch into Umbreon, so that Umbreon can tank the third Weather Ball, and you don't have to worry about Hypno's health getting down too low, and just finish it off with Umbreon. And if they swap into their other Pokemon, that's fine. What you're trying to do here is smoke out their Fairy type. They will usually switch a Fairy or a Fighting into Umbreon, but it's usually Fairy, because Fighting types like Machamp, especially Shadow Machamp, are a little bit glassy, and you kind of have to waste your shields on them even against an Umbreon. But Clefable, you don't have to. And but this was a ground ball this time, and this is going to just absolutely mince Umbreon, which is fine, because then you want to lock in their Fairy type with Hypno, because Hypno is the only Fairy counter we have on the team. So just Fire Punch away, and that's it. Simple, done. And then they've got a Greedent in the back. Greedent is incredibly bulky, but also very weak to Machamp. Machamp is unfortunately glassy, and Greedent can spam Body Slam, so you really need to have those shields ready for Body Slam to overcome Greedent. And that is thankfully what I had done here, because Umbreon doesn't really need shield. It's very, very tanky, and Hypno doesn't need a whole lot of shields either, so that's good. Okay, getting into the second round here, my Hypno versus a Shadow Hypno, and the best thing about this is that because my Hypno is a lucky Hypno with a very high attack IV, I usually win CMP tie against any Hypno, and so they have to make the call about if they're going to shield or not. So they didn't shield, which was a huge mistake, because Shadow Ball does a ton of damage. Maybe they thought it was going to fake it, and then that was the end of Hypno. So I decided I was going to shield just to keep my Hypno going, see what they had in the back. I should have swapped out here, but I was thinking for some reason that they would, this Walrein would build up to, would build up to a Mega Horn. Of course it wouldn't. Of course it's going to spam Hydro Cannon. But yeah, just for some reason thought it would wait out for a Mega Horn, and it didn't. So I could have easily switched out earlier into Machamp, but, swings and roundabouts. So my Machamp is now up against their Shadow Machamp, and I have Umbreon in the back against their Shadow Machamp, which is not a great setup, but even though Machamp has the energy advantage, its health is too low, and Umbreon will be able to take it out with simply a Foul Play, because it's in such a bad health range. So very easy to overcome Machamp, even with an Umbreon, because Umbreon is so good. And if you don't have an Umbreon for Great League, you need to get an Umbreon for Great League. Okay, so Hypno into Clefable. This is an excellent lead, even though it can result in loss, because Clefable is what we need to lock into with Hypno. You don't want to have it locked into Umbreon or Machamp early on, because it's pretty much game over. So they've thankfully let the Shadow Ball through, which is great for us. I think they maybe thought we were going to fake out with a Fire Punch or something, but we didn't. So Clefable's gone. In comes there. Well, now we're switched into an Umbreon versus a Meganium situation, which is actually excellent, because Meganium spams Frenzy Plant, and Umbreon can take several Frenzy Plants right to the face and spam Foul Play right back at it, which is great. And also we've got Hypno with Fire Punch if we need to bring in something super effective against it as well, but I think Umbreon's going to be able to take it out here unless they shield. I can't remember if they shield. Let's find out. And they do. So that's the end of Umbreon. Let Hypno go. And Machamp can easily finish it off. And what was in the back? Oh yeah, Umbreon. So that's pretty much game, especially because Machamp has a shield. Last Resort can absolutely rip apart Machamp. So this works out in our favor that we had a shield, because we'll be able to get to that second Cross Chop before they can get to a third Last Resort, which is what they'll need to take us out. And there it goes. Next battle, we got Hypno into Gramble. Another great lead, because we want to let Hypno get knocked out by Gramble, because we have nothing else that can take Gramble down. So the more damage Hypno can do to Gramble, the better. That's why I'm shielding here, even though it's a lost cause. I need to get that chip damage off Gramble. It's worth every shield, because otherwise, again, GG's. So Gramble's gone and now into Registeel, which is a phenomenal matchup for us. So you can get off a Fire Punch early as well, either grab a shield or get some damage. They've used their last shield, and now we've got Machamp that can just open fire on Registeel. I shielded because I wasn't sure what he was going to hit with, and they did an excellent switch there into Machoke to catch my cross chop, but even then Machoke is no match for Machamp. And then of course I switch out from Machamp into Umbreon just to take the Dynamic Punch. Look at Umbreon go. What a tank. Take it the Dynamic Punch like it's nothing. And then knocks out the Machoke. Take that, Sims. Pokemon Sims. Umbreon is just too beastly. And then Umbreon thankfully takes Registeel's charge move, leaving Machamp open to knock out Registeel, and we're on to the next one. Another great start with Clefable, and this is a Charm Clefable into Hypno, which we haven't seen yet. And this is a pretty similar matchup in terms of like what we can really do to each other. It takes us both a while to get to charge moves, and this kind of Clefable, you could use a Charm Clefable instead of a Hypno if you really wanted to for this team if you don't have a Hypno, because it pretty much does the same like coverage, with the exception being Shadow Ball for the ghost types. This was a very weird switch on their part. I think they made a mistake here when they hit Vigoroth. I believe there was, and that's why they let the charge move through, because there's a psychic Pokemon in the back. They have their own Hypno. I think they meant to hit Hypno and they hit Vigoroth, which is unfortunate for them, but great for me. So, just let Machamp go down because I didn't have a choice, and now it's my Umbreon versus the Hypno, which is like, unless the Hypno had Focus Blast, it is game over. No one's running Focus Blast Hypno in this cup anyway, which might be a bit of a spicy pick actually. Maybe I should do that myself when I get into the higher leagues, levels. And that's the end of that. So Umbreon's gone. So this is another day. Obviously, this is a terrible lead. This is a lead loss big time. And there's a couple of things I can do here. Build up to a Shadow Ball and use it. Switch into Umbreon early. And that's what I ended up doing, because I'm trying to smoke out their fighting or their Fairy type to see what they've got in the back. And don't know if they have a Fairy type, but I know they have two things that I need Hypno for, which is Machamp and Cofagrigus. So let's see what I can do here to pull off the win. Back into Machamp. I'm always going to be worried, like, is there going to be a payback? But there's not, it's a Rock Slide. And back into Cofagrigus. I'm using Shadow Ball, hoping that they don't shield. And they don't. I think they thought I was going to fake it. Again, like the Clefable from earlier. Dark Pulse had to shield that, otherwise I'm gone. Need to see what they're going to bring out, and it'll be crazy for them to bring out the Machamp. So their last Pokemon is a Registeel. So it's Fire Punch will do a nice little bit of chip damage. We both have one shield each. I've got the Machamp in the back. They've got a damage Shadow Machamp in the back, plus the damage Registeel. And unfortunately, Machamp can really get me down here. So I had to let this through, because even though Cross Chop does so much damage, I have to shield the Registeel. And they knew it, and that's why they gave up there. Because if I'd shielded there, they were in with a shot. Now there's no shot. Another terrible lead for me. Vigoroth into Umbreon, they switch into Machamp, and they switch straight into the Clefable, which is great because now I've smoked out their Fairy type. I've seen their Fighting type. Hypno can take out both, or take most of both anyway. And this is a Fairy Wind Clefable that's going to spam Medium Mash like there is no tomorrow. Like it thinks it's a Metagross. But anyway, off with my Rock Slide, and it really didn't want to let that Rock Slide through. So it shielded. I didn't shield this Medium Mash. They have no shields left, and I have one. Plus my Hypno, which is great because I can shield whatever Clefable is about to chuck at me if I want, or save it for later. I save it for later because Hypno can tank that Medium Mash, baby. No problem. It's not even with the good IVs. I thought I'd be able to fast move down Clefable, and unfortunately I didn't, and I really needed to save my health for whatever they had coming next, which is a Politoed. Bane of my existence in this cup, but I can get a Shadow Ball straight off onto it and they can't touch it. Now we've got the Vigoroth versus Umbreon battle all over again, but now I've got an energy advantage with Umbreon, and I can spam Foul Play while it spams Body Slam. And the main damage it's going to do to me is actually from its fast move, although Body Slam does a decent chunk too. But Umbreon's so bulky, like, you really need to have that fighting fast move in the back, otherwise I can just take you out, like that just happened. And then GG's, because Politoed and versus Umbreon Hypno is no match.